The content discussed in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or mortgage advice. Always consult with a licensed professional before making any decisions regarding mortgages or financial matters.
Welcome to the Canadian Mortgage Show. Here are mortgage professionals Alex Pang and Alex Shanks to cut through the BS and educate Canadians on all things mortgages and real estate.
Mark Carney unveils major projects that he wants fast-tracked. He's giving the green light to help Canada become an energy superpower. So now, Alex, are all these projects, are all of these new?
In all honesty, these are not all new. These have been talked about for years. There are actually only two that are truly new.
I mean, government has a way of recycling announcements, old announcements, to make it new. Welcome to episode 63 of the Canadian Mortgage Show. Alex Pang here alongside my partner, Alex Shanks. Alex, you were in Vancouver this past weekend, weren't you?
I was. We didn't get to see each other again there, Alex, but I had a good trip. I'm gonna give some stories here. If anyone wants to hear a funny story about someone not maybe running out of fuel, stick around here for a few minutes. If not, you want to get into the stuff, you can skip ahead. But yeah, I went to Vancouver with my family. We stayed downtown. Wanted to do all the fun stuff. I honestly thought, Alex, I'd have more time. I thought we'd have I wanted to go to China Street. I wanted to go to Granville Island. We went to Pacific Center, did a little bit of shopping with the kids. We caught the Sky Trains because that's really what they wanted to do. Went to the aquarium, which was awesome as well. Honestly, didn't have enough time there. We spent almost half the day at Science World. Felt like we didn't have enough time there. And there's actually so much stuff to do there. And I remember as a kid, I felt like I did a lot more things, but we went in the pool at the hotel, ordered room service for the kids and everything. So it was a nice and fun time that way.
One thing you got to give a caveat is, how old are your kids, Alex?
They're like 18. No, my kids are 6.5 and 2.5, and so sleeping in a room full of two boys, there's not much sleep. Our youngest, I think the first day he was up at 5 a.m. screaming at us, so that was exciting. The next morning, my oldest actually got him up, played with him. So that was kind of nice. By the third night, we actually had a normal sleep, and it's like, oh, this is okay now.
Yeah, I remember that time when the kids were young. Traveling was not fun because you deal with meltdowns, early bedtimes, and then, typically when you're in a hotel room, everyone needs to sleep at the same time. And, me and my wife, we ain't sleeping at 7 p.m. We're trying to be on our phones or something. And then as the kids got older, we were able to get two separate rooms or a suite with two bedrooms or something. Like, man, you stay up all you want, whatever.
Yeah. I think back when I was a kid, though, obviously my parents they didn't have phones and stuff. I think they would just play card games and watch TV, and they're like, you're going to bed. Again, I was an only child, so it's a bit easier to manage one person. But I just kind of remember my parents being like, hey, it's bedtime, we're going to stay up, and hey, you got to go to sleep now.
Yeah, it's just harder to do when everyone's in the same room. And
Yeah.
But tell us your story about running out of gas.
Yeah, honestly, we came to Vancouver. I was already kind of short on gas. I'm like, oh shit, I need to stop. And I mean, there's just not easy stops in Vancouver to get gas. It's not like an easy spot, especially downtown. And so we were leaving our hotel and we were going to go out to Surrey to see some friends that way. And as we were leaving, I told my wife, hey, we need to stop on 12th Street somewhere for fuel because that's going to be our best stop. Our brains, kids screaming in the back of our car. Well, we came to the highway coming down through Burnaby. I'm like, oh shit, we didn't stop for fuel. And when your car has the fuel thing and says your range, well, that disappeared. I saw that to get where we needed to go is going to be 20 kilometers. I'm like, I think we had 30, 35. I think we can make it. Well, that's if your car is just going at a normal speed, not stopping in traffic.
My goodness. So the whole time your light was on, telling you to find fuel. We've all made this mistake once. Thankfully, I've never made that mistake. I hear people were like, oh yeah, it says 20 kilometers, but it's still got more. And then, oh, nope. And then you hear the car chugging, when a lawnmower runs out of gas, you're like, oh, it's sputtering.
We were yeah, so we came across the Portman Bridge. We started driving across there, and I'm like to my wife, I'm like, you gotta find like the closest gas station. Like we have to go to a gas station now. And we started getting it in. We're like, all right, it's 1.5 kilometers away. I'm driving up a little bit of a hill. Go, go, go.
Go, go, go,
I'm like, no.
go.
And luckily we weren't on the bridge still. Like we were able to pull over safely. We had two kids sleeping. They were napping in the back of the car. So that was okay for about 30 minutes until they started waking up. And then yeah, we had to call it to all the different tow truck companies to be like, hey, do you bring fuel along here? A lot of them are like, no. And it's probably not worth their money. Like in the end, it cost us $80 to do it. But it took about 2 hours for them to get to us. I put a pin, Alex, because they said, show us where you are. Also, the service where I was horrible. I could barely even make a phone call. So I put a pin. I said, hey, I'm on the highway going towards Surrey. Sent them a photo of it. I said, like the pin's a little bit off, but just tell him to come across. I'm on the highway. Well, he went to the other road that is on the other side of the highway, like in a neighborhood. And so they're like, oh, we don't see you. I'm like, no, I'm on the highway. And so had to wait another 45 minutes for them to drive across the bridge, turn around and come back to us. And so, yeah, that was a very eventful a few hours of our life that I'll never get back. But we did manage it.
Well, let's just say we all need to learn a lesson once in life. Hopefully, Alex, this is the one and only lesson you need to learn. Now, funny that you mentioned to me when you're describing where you were at, you could have actually got out of your car, and because I believe on the exit on the 152, if you go further towards Guildford Mall, there is a Petro
Yeah.
Canada there. So you could have walked there and
Well,
bought
I
a
looked
can.
at that. It was going to be 20 minutes to walk there and back is
Yeah.
what like Google Maps said.
Yeah.
They were like already called the tow truck, and they said it will be like 45 minutes. So that's why I was like, well, shit, I'm not going to go do that for one. I don't want to like be like, hey, actually I canceled it and everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to leave my wife and kids in the car alone. Well, after it took them 2 hours, I'm like, God damn it. I should have just ran to the gas.
Yeah, that's what I was
Very
thinking
funny.
too. I'm like, if you are where I think you are, I'm like, that's actually not that bad of a walk. You could have just walked there and back. And
It was like 17 minutes, but I was like, well, I already ordered
Yeah.
it. So like they said
Yeah.
to be here in 40 minutes. So it's just kind of like it's the exact same amount of time. I'll stay here with my family, but it turned to be much longer, and I should have just ran there.
Oh man, I
But
can't imagine like during that 2 hours, if any of you need to go to the bathroom or the kids woke up.
we're so lucky the kids didn't have to go to the bathroom. Luckily, yeah, it
On the
wasn't
highway, like, hey, we'll stand on the side of the highway when cars are zooming past. Like, I can't pee, I'm too nervous. Just do it.
yeah, yeah.
All right, folks,
But
we took way too much time. We got to start the show.
Exactly. Let's get into it. And let's first talk about some stuff here. We got the October jobs showed a net gain of 66,000. And the unemployment rate dropped to 6.9. Now, I always like how they say it dropped to 6.9, and what they mean is it was at 7.1 before, 7.1% before, and yes, it dropped from that, but there's still a lot of unemployment out there. There's still a lot of people that can't get jobs.
Yeah, 100%. Like all the clients I talk to, no matter what the industry is, it's not just auto. We're hearing it in the banking sector, the tech, all these other jobs, finance. Companies are laying
I'm
off.
I'm hearing the tech companies are really they're driving the you have to get back to office, and a lot of tech people came from the US that like had really good jobs. They were able to work remote. They're living in Canada now. I heard from a few people like, hey, you got to be back in office or your job is gone. And those are like people with 250, 300K incomes.
Yeah.
And they have to now decide, do I leave Canada or do I go back to the US?
Yeah, and we talked about this before. This is a very coy way for companies to save money on paying severance. It's
No.
forcing people to leave without having to buy people out. So very cutthroat, but also very smart. And it may not be moral, but that's how they do it. And hey, good on the companies for doing it. Yeah, other things, reports have just came out today. Our Canada's inflation eased to 2.2% in October, so it's been slightly above economists' forecasts. I mean, we all kind of,
It was 2.3, I think 2.3
yeah,
in
2.3,
September. I can't even.
2.4 in September. I mean, all this data, we all kind of foresaw it, but this essentially just puts a damper up. Like, it's essentially that the Bank of Canada is going to be holding rates in December. This pretty much puts the nail in the coffin and everything like that. The big six banks have updated their forecasts on the Bank of Canada going into 2026. We pulled this graph from the Canadian Mortgage Trends site here. Alex, do you want to touch on this one?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I was also reading in Reddit there. I saw some posting about this, and so if you see it on the video, you'll be able to see this. But all the banks are just saying it's going to be holding for the next little while, all the way to Q4 2026. But you got Scotiabank saying actually in Q2 of 2026, or going into Q3, they expect a quarter point hike in Q3 and also in Q4. So they actually say that the Bank of Canada is going to have to increase interest rates. And it was so funny, like reading some of the people in Reddit. They're like, well, Scotia's the worst bank ever. They have the highest interest rates. Of course, they want them to go even higher. I'm like, actually, Scotia's had some of the best interest rates out there. They have some of the best products, and them saying that doesn't make them more money. The Bank of Canada increasing overnight rate does not affect their book at all. They're going to increase their prime rate. Doesn't mean they make more money. It's just it's kind of funny how people actually think like the banks make money, and hearing that, oh, if the overnight rate goes up, all banks are going to make more money. It's their profits are going to stay the same. They have their spread between the overnight rate and the prime rate.
Yeah, I don't agree with Scotiabank because, like, for rates to go up, usually it's a sign the economy is recovering and inflation is going up, and so they need to increase the cost to counteract that. There are no signs that are pointing towards an improved economy. Now, if Scotiabank has some insider information that we don't know about, where that tariffs are going to be imminently ending, that we're going to have some sort of trade deal with the U.S., that's great. But based on the
Oh, I mean, if
information
we,
we have right now, there's nothing that points us to that direction.
yeah, if we go back to other podcasts like that we talked showing these charts again, like Scotia previously said there would be no more rate cuts. That was like 7 months ago. They said that rates were going to stay at like 3%. So Scotia, like, I mean, it's a guessing game, and sometimes they might want to be like, hey, I want to be the outsider. I want to say that rates are going to go up. And again, you have to take this with a grain of salt. Now, again, like what Alex is talking about, like I don't see rates going up in the near future, but I also don't know if rates are going to go down more. Like that's where again it all depends on the data. Like we could have been talking back in early October. I didn't think there was going to be any rate cuts until we got the jobs report, and there was like, whoa, shit! Like economy's doing really bad again. Hey, there's going to be another rate cut, and that's where like the data can change on a daily basis here.
Yeah, I think I tend to sign more on if you guys are looking at the graph here, that I'm siding more on, BMO and National Bank, that there might be one more cut next
More
year.
cut,
Now, now
maybe
this
like
yeah,
mid 2020.
yeah, this graph here is assuming that they're gonna cut in December. Like, I don't think so. Maybe they might do one in Q1 of 2026, because I can very well see the economy numbers like doing worse. And, Bank of Canada did say that, there's only so much we can do to stimulate the economy, and they're at the bottom range of where we deem neutral range. And if they dip into the 2% as a key lending rate, it will approach stimulative territory. Now, will a 0.25% really stimulate the economy? I doubt that. But yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit more bullish on this one, on terms of the rates going down. I would say one more cut, maybe
Yeah.
next year.
To me, it really just depends on the tariffs, like inflation like that. It really depends for me on that. Like if we do start importing inflation, that's just where I can see them just not cutting. And then obviously if people keep spending and buying stuff, even as inflation rises, that's when they may have to actually increase the rates. Because then they'll be like, well, people are still spending. We got to try and cut this back.
Yeah. Canadian mortgage trends also have reported too that this most recent rate cut that we had a few weeks ago, the Bank of Canada actually considered delaying it until after Carney's budget. Now, they were saying that a later move would have provided more insight into labor market weakness and input costs and underlying inflation. And then with continued excess supply, labor market weakness, tepid growth expected in the second half of the year, and inflation projected to stay close to the target, the arguments for cutting the policy rate in October were considered more salient. So either they were going to cut in October and hold in December, or hold in October and cut in December. Either way, it was gonna be one cut up between the two sides. So
Yeah.
it's a tomato kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought that way. Now, this is, I mean, you could say in the response to these lower interest rates here, Alex, because we're super low here now, that the homes across Canada actually rose by 0.29% in October. They say in response to the lower interest rates. I mean, I don't believe it's just because that it's people are seeing that rates could be going down. Yes, more people are interested in buying, but it's also like, hey, like rates are not skyrocketing down. There's a lot of people that have been on the sidelines for a year, 2 years, just expecting the market to crash by 50%, rates to go back to 1.5%. And it's kind of like that's not going to happen here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and we've all long said that Canadian Real Estate Association is the nationwide thing, and our market is not nationwide. It's honestly, boils down to provincial, and even provincial, it's municipal, and within municipal, it's within region. And Alex has said a long time that your area in the Comox Valley, it's going through a seller's market right now, whereas the rest of the province and most of the country is kind of a buyer's market. So it's, these numbers, take it for what you will, but I do admit on my end too, being in the Lower Mainland, that market has kind of picked up. It's I would say it's still buyer's market, but not like really crazy. Like I've seen more action where buyers are coming off the woodwork, more first time buyers are happening and such. But yeah, this is kind of positive, but nothing to go home go to roost about.
Yeah. Doesn't mean like we don't need any FOMO out there, people. Hey, you don't need to go and buy a house today, or you're gonna lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not what's happening here. This is definitely a time where you can take your time, you can make your budget. It's a time where you may get a good deal on a property, but it's not like, oh my God, if you don't buy a house today, it's gonna cost 200,000 2 years more from now. That's not what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, and based on how things are going with more job loss and stuff, I could very well see home prices go down even a little bit more before it kind of levels off in the middle of next year. That could very well happen. Now, remember last week we talked a good portion of our episode on the federal budget. Well, they did a vote today. Today we're recording a little later. The Liberals have passed the 2025 budget on a narrow 170 to 168 vote. So this minority government narrowly avoided a snap election. So it gone through, and I'm sure even like whatever party, like the Conservatives, they don't want to go through another election again. It's costly,
I mean, I'm glad.
waste time.
I mean, there's people out there for sure that would have wanted to, and I mean, I bet you Pierre Poilievre was going to say, "Oh, we should have had an election and everything," but that just to me is not what was right for Canada right now, and that's where, like, honestly, like if it would have been like a tied vote, again, that person going over from the Conservative to the Liberals, like to stop that, I have more respect for that. It's like this is doing an election right now is not what we need in Canada whatsoever.
Yeah, honestly, we just need, wherever party lines you are at, we just need to unite and get us out of this mess, whatever. Right. So, were you a Blue Jays fan? Were you cheering for the Blue Jays on the road to the World Series? They were very close, game sevens, extra innings, but they couldn't get it over the line. Like,
I watched it at the end there. I'm not even a bandwagoner baseball fan. We kind of talked about before. I tried to play some fantasy baseball to like get involved with it and want to watch the games. It's just never been something that I've enjoyed. It was fun watching like those playoffs games. I will say that. And I mean, obviously I was cheering for Toronto living in Canada, but I'm not, it wasn't like I was not watching them the entire time.
Yeah, to be honest, I was kind of not a huge bandwagon. I mean, I was kind of cheering for the Mariners during the ALCS, but hey, they lost. Blue Jays in the World Series. So when it came to Game 7, I actually found myself cheering for them, and I was getting nervous because it was like, oh, this is a really tight game. Well,
Yeah.
most of the country kind of got on board with that, and now where are we getting on this? RBC is suggesting that the Blue Jays' run to the World Series helped Ontario avoid a recession in 2025. If you see on the graph here, their cardholder spending has kind of peaked, whatever this number here on the side, whatever their index is. But yeah, it
Million?
shows,
I don't know.
yeah, whatever their index is, the highest since even before 2018, where this graph shows. Now, this is almost one of those like things where a singular event for a short period of time boosts an economy,
Yeah.
like just like a Taylor Swift concert. When Taylor Swift had her 6 concerts in Toronto and then the 3 concerts in Vancouver. What about this recession we have? Well, apparently a concert just blows that out of the
Yeah.
water. People spend like $2,000-$3,000 for tickets. I mean, that's low. I'm sure people were spending like tens of thousands of dollars on tickets and merch
All the hotels and food and everything. And that's like honestly the thing that this chart, and if people can see it, is if this chart's from 2018 to 2025 showing like Blue Jays brings entertainment spending boom, and it's showing RBC car holders spending on entire entertainment and art in Ontario. 2018, you're at like 100, and then it drops 2020 to 2021. Ever since from there, it's just been going up. And I mean, like, that is just, it's again showing how much debt people have in Canada. They are just freaking racking up their credit cards here on stuff, and they probably do not have this money in the bank.
Yeah, I believe you. More and more now, I'm even seeing on concerts that you can finance. You don't just buy your tickets just with your card and that's it. They say you can finance that concert over installments. I'm like, what in the world? And speaking of which, nowadays, now that cell phones are very expensive, it's either your iPhones or your Samsungs or whatever, phones are at least $1,500 to 2,000, if not more, for the premium phones. They're giving options now that you can finance a phone or you can lease a phone, just like a car, because you want to change phones every 2 or 3 years. You just make these payments and you just lease it, and at the end of the lease, you give the phone back. When did that happen?
I think they'd started happening. I would say, like, honestly, Netflix could have really been like a big booster of showing, like, hey, instead of just spending money once and getting something, showing like a recurring model of monthly. Hey, it might be lower in price, but hey, would you rather have someone pay $100 for the next 25 years or just pay $1,000 one time? And that's where the like these mini payments, like people think like, oh, it's only $10. Like you can, I know, I remember seeing at No Frills back when I lived in Vancouver in like 2015. You could finance your meat when you bought at No Frills. You
Oh
could
my
finance your
goodness.
grocery bill. Like it's just it's a very scary thing, especially when finance is just not really taught in our system. And that's where it's not be able to show to people, hey, yes, you can delay this and pay less right now, but what's it actually going to cost you? What's that interest rate? Is it going to be 25? Is it going to be 30%? That's where it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be part of this consumerism culture where I wanted a new phone every 2 years, and I would just
Yeah.
sell the existing phone and upgrade. And hey, you make back money, but even though you do that, you're still paying $1,000 a pop. After all is said and done. I think now I'm with my Samsung Note 20 that I bought 4 years ago. My battery's going down. It doesn't last the whole day. I got to charge it halfway through. But now I'm at a point now where I don't want to buy a new phone until it actually dies or it can't run anymore.
You're not like, oh, I just want to have. I remember like
Yeah.
it's you just. I remember like especially the first cell phones, like even when iTunes came out, like to have an iTunes phone. It wasn't Apple, it was just like a phone, a Nokia that you could have iTunes on. Like I wanted the newest phone all the time, and yeah, I think I'm on 5 years on my iPhone, Alex. I need to. I tried to do an Apple thing actually in Vancouver because we don't have an Apple store where I live. just because I need my batteries dying, my screen's broken. I want to use my Apple Care. I missed the appointment because I ran out of fuel. Um, but it's I don't want it. There's no reason for me to get a new phone. Whenever I walk in like the stores, I always see them with like the really bright screens. I'm like, ooh, that looks really fancy because they crank up the screens because they're plugged in. And I'm like, oh, why does that screen look better than mine? It's like, well, oh yeah, I keep mine as low as possible because I'm trying to conserve my battery.
Yeah, exactly. I'm at a point now, like the phone I want to get is a fold phone, and those phones are like 2,500 to 3 grand. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's more of a want than a need. So I will keep my phone as,
Yeah,
yeah, I will
I see
keep,
you with the full phone. I'm coming. I'm coming to give you a kick.
exactly. I'm gonna keep this phone as long as I can. So so we digress here. So I mean, moving on here. Um, Mark Carney unveils major projects that he wants fast tracked. Um, and he's giving the green light to help Canada become an energy superpower. So we'll list them off here. I pardon my pronunciation here, and we'll have this put it on the graphic here. The CSUN mine for critical minerals in New Brunswick, the Crawford Nickel Project in Ontario, the Kissy Lissams liquefied natural gas project in BC. Hope I pronounced that right. The
Yep.
Iqaluit Hydro Project, the Nouveau Monde Graphite Phase 2 project in Quebec, the Northwest Critical Conservation Corridor in Northwest BC and Yukon, which does critical minerals and clean power transmission developments in the area, and the North Coast Transmission Line in Northwest BC. Now, Alex,
I'm glad
are all of these new?
I'm just glad that you were the one that said all the names there, Alex. I don't know what I would have pronounced some of those as.
Yeah. So
And that's, I mean, I can't say, I mean, I can read the notes that we have here, obviously, but yeah, like based on everything, I would have been like, oh yeah, these are new. But again, I'm not reading all the budgets that the government's putting out. But in all honesty, these are not all new. These have been talked about for years. There are actually only two that are truly new.
I mean, government has a way of recycling announcements, old announcements to make it new. Like something that they previously announced in the summer. They're like, oh, hey, we're going to do first time buyer, up to 1.5 and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden they release it in a budget and they re-announce it as like, oh, it's a new thing. I'm like, didn't you announce that back in July? It's November now. So yeah, that's one of those things where, that's why we're here to kind of sift through the BS and all that stuff.
I mean, I mean, that is marketing in a sense. Like you gotta like that's where even us like we have to try and sell ourselves on a daily basis there, Alex. And it's a hard job. I honestly enjoy doing this podcast so much more than just like plain old social media, like just doing a 60-second video because you have to hook people and it's negative things that usually hook people. Where this like we just get to talk about everything, we get to go over everything. And I mean, that's where they're using the news to be like, hey, look at this. We got all these news projects, but hey, guess what? Some of these were already happening.
Mm. Speaking of government, you got more to talk about, don't you?
Yeah, this is a funny one. And now this is the parliamentary budget officer criticizes Carney's budget in 2025 for a 94 billion capital spending inflation. Now, the PBO released a report on November 14th critiquing Prime Minister's budget for 2025 for using expansive definition of capital spending that incorporates 94 billion in tax credits and subsidies, lowering the actual capital investment from 311 billion that they say down to 217 over 5 years. Now, this method results in ongoing operating deficits through 2029, conflicting with the government's commitment to balance by 2028, 2029. I mean, every government says we're going to balance the budget. We're not going to do it. The opposition figures like Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and groups such as the Canadian Taxpayers Federation label it creative accounting that masks increasing debt while the government maintains its modernization budget to promote growth in housing infrastructure and green technology. And that's the stuff that I don't like is when you're trying to like hide things to make it look better, where just be like, hey, this is what we're doing. I would rather have that.
Do you mind pronouncing the name of conservative leader again? I want to hear that.
The airport there.
We hear Alex pronounce his name 3 different ways. I'm like, yeah, let's call him out on this one.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's a funny thing. After the PBO has criticizing Carney's government on the budget here, Ottawa is seeking a permanent PBO officer with, quote, tact and discretion. So currently, the interim PBO, Jason Jacques, he was appointed by the Liberals. Hey, we just said that he's called out Carney's spending habits as stupefying, shocking, and says the Liberal budget will financially break Canada. Well, thank you, Jason Jacques, because we all said it. But apparently, yeah, he's being honest. But apparently, the Liberals don't like it, and they want someone to be a team player.
Yeah, so that's what I just don't love about the government is like, oh, you know what, I don't like you. You're not doing the way that I want it. And I mean, we talked to the quick Brad West there about this is where the ins and out of the political world to me is it's scary and it's wrong. And I mean, this guy may have just ruined his career because he's trying to do what's right for Canadians, but he may have actually just ruined his own career.
Yeah, but and I mean the PBO is meant to be an independent entity, just like Tiff Macklem and the Bank of Canada.
Yeah.
So I mean, it shouldn't even be kind of appointed by the government, right? Like, how is now if you think about it, how is the Bank of Canada like Tiff Macklem? How are they appointed? Like, who appoints them?
I think same thing from the government does
Yeah.
appoint them that way.
Yeah, so
it should be us. Really, us should be voting
yeah.
for them.
So essentially, they should leave the PBO alone, like how they leave the Bank of Canada alone. So, I mean, this is not what Carney. They basically want someone who won't criticize them and be a yes person. I'm like, this isn't what the mandate of the PBO is to call it as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't even be like again. It like in Jason Jack, I think like he's a liberal. He was a liberal too, was he not? Before like that's like I think that's where he does side. And so I mean, again, you want discourse. You don't always want people to agree on things. Like it is healthy to have discourse. If everyone just agreed upon everything, it would be bad.
Yeah, exactly. And then things will just run amok. And how about this? Instead of someone being less critical, how about stop releasing unsustainable budgets? Right? Be smart with our money. And so yeah, this is just yeah, it's kind of funny. But yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely it's funny. That's why we did organize our budget a little or our stuff here for people to be like, hey, let's talk about what the PBO actually said. And then be like, oh, look at this. Mark Carney doesn't want him in here anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we shift gears here and talking a little about industry stuff here. We got a few movements going on within the lender space here. Questrade has secured approval to launch its own bank in Canada. That's pretty good. That's a good thing because
No, I think it's really cool.
yeah,
It's like it's again, I love it. Like for one, it's not just having six major banks other than credit unions and everything. I think it's a great thing that way. I mean, Questrade tried the mortgage market, that didn't work for them, and so I think they're like, hey, you know what? We've done really good with like the online banking world, their investments and everything. Um, Now, it's the hard thing for anyone that does use like these online brokerages, especially for if you're buying a house. Well, to get a deposit, you have to order it through the mail. That can take up to 5 business days, and that's where you need to have a brick and mortar place that you can get to. And so, I mean, I obviously like the main places. Like I could see Vancouver obviously having a Questrade bank like in downtown Toronto. I don't know if like we'll get a place like where I live. I don't think Questrade's going to put like a bank up here. But it's going to be interesting to see.
yeah. I mean, you got to give the flowers to the online banks or the online institution like Questrade and Wealthsimple. Wealthsimple has done really well in the investment space. Now, I would love to see Wealthsimple go for its own banking license in Canada as well. Now, like you said,
Forward.
it didn't do well in the mortgage space because it tried to go direct to consumer. Now, what would really help Questrade and if Wealthsimple, if they decide to go down that route down the future, if they partner with mortgage brokers to bring customers to them, just like back in the day when ING Direct partnered with brokers, other institutions such like that.
And it will work. It will work better for Questrade. Like if they have a bank, the way that they can source their funds is a lot better. Like when they have to source them, like if they try and do their own mortgages, when you are a monoline lender, it is much harder to secure mortgage financing, especially for not insured mortgages. When someone gets a mortgage with less than 20%, it's a lot easier for them to securitize it and get the financing for it. And so that's where having their own bank will help them even on more lending fronts, which again, more opportunity for people. I believe that's better.
Yeah, yeah. And then a few other notes here. Canadian Western Bank, they've decided to exit the A lending space. Now, the A lending space is what most people see on a day-to-day basis dealing with the banks and credit unions. With the A lending space means prime lending, you get the lowest rates. They decided to exit because they're merging with National Bank. Um, but Canadian Western Bank is going to slowly focus on alternative lending, the B lending, those who are damaged credit or self-employed who can't really have provable income. So there is a space for that, and at least they're prioritizing what they do best.
Yeah, I think they know what they do best there. Like we now, we're talking about it. I've never sent a deal to C2B Optimum where they're a lending. Like there's nothing niche there. They don't have any good interest rates. Really, no extra good products that way. Where on their alt side, they have some really great things, and so it's cool to see that. We'll see like National Banks deals with some mortgage brokers across Canada, not all with them. If they're merging with C2B, does it mean that they're going to open up to more people? It's just again, it's interesting to see more stuff happening.
Yeah, another lender, folks, you probably haven't heard of it. Is deals with us mortgage brokers in our space here. Home Trust, they were they've left the A lending space for a little bit, and they only focused on the alternative lending, like how Canadian Western is planning to do. They're doing the reverse. They are decided to come back into the A lending space for insured and insurable mortgages. So they are they won't be competitive with the banks in conventional mortgages. Insured and insurable, they may stand a chance because they have a really good name in the alternative lending space already.
And that's the reason why they had to get out of the a lending space. Is like a massive investor in them also owned part of First National, and so like the securitization, they couldn't get funding in the same way, and so that's why they actually had to pull out of it. It was going to cost them more money to get the funding, where everything's been rejigged it like in a corporate structure, so that they can now get that right the source of funds.
Yeah, I mean, all in all here, especially with Questrade here wanting to launch its own bank and Home Trust re-entering the A space, it offers consumers more choice. And we always say more choice is better for consumers in the long run because there's more competition, then you'll get competitive rates, competitive terms, offerings, and all that stuff. So ultimately, it's good news for consumers.
Yeah, and then we're switching gears here a little bit, but this is just something to kind of note. Like the Ontario government has actually been talking about taking over RECA, their real estate board there. That's to do with some of their poor handling. We talked about it. I think it was summertime there, Alex, when that trust issue, when the people on the board was actually stealing money from people, and so it's. I mean, I don't think it looks great for like an organization saying, "Hey, we have to come and take oversight of you because there's shady dealings going on." And is that the only thing that's happened? And is there other stuff being hidden that we all don't know about actually?
Yeah, especially how they dealt with the whole iPro scandal, the brokerage scandal out. Um, this is quite the indictment on RECA. It's like saying us in BC here, it's like saying the BC government doesn't trust the BC FSA. So they're deciding to, and guess what?
Yeah.
That's going to be taxpayer dollars because I'm sure RECA at BCFSA is member funded now. So if you
Yeah.
if you're getting the provincial government that's funded by taxpayer dollars to take over a governing body, then more of your taxpayer dollars you know are going to somewhere that it shouldn't have to, right?
Yeah.
So
Totally.
um,
Yeah.
you know,
We'll see. I don't think it's gonna happen, but just yeah, worth talking about.
Yeah, I mean, out here in BC here, there's another disciplinary case here. A BC lawyer was suspended after handling $9 million in suspicious real estate deals for alleged drug traffickers. Now, Vancouver real estate lawyer Gary Lowe was suspended for 16 weeks after mishandling roughly $9 million that moved through his trust account in a series of suspicious real estate and private loan transactions that have been linked to 2 unidentified clients who were arrested in a Vancouver Police Department drug trafficking investigation. Now, it's funny enough, this is the first time that he got disciplined. This is the second major disciplinary case in recent years. So what does this remind me of? This guy is the modern day Better Call Saul. He's he's in the back. Yeah, he's in the back pocket of criminals, cartels, whoever, the triads, whoever. So
And that's why everyone, I always like to bring it up there, because everyone's like, why do you need to see all my down payment? Why do you need to see all my T4 documents? And that's because there's people like this doing these bad things, and they are bringing money in illegally. And this happens every day in Canada here, people. This is not just him doing this. Is a lot of people doing it, and that is why. And I believe that the banks do know what's happening, and they do profit from it, so they're not too upset by it. But obviously, when it gets caught. Now, again, here we've talked about white criminal, like white collar crime here before. This is the second one. He's suspended for 16 weeks. He'd be like, you're done. You're disbarred. Like, sorry, you've lost your license. To me, like, you've gotten caught the second time here now. Like, it's over.
yeah, I mean, what does it need to take before white collar crime actually leads to some jail times for some federally charged cases? I don't know. Do we need like a major Ponzi scheme, like something so big that people can't ignore?
Me and you're gonna start a massive Ponzi scheme, just telling people, if you invest, we got a crypto NFT for podcast. You can buy part of our podcast, and you'll become a millionaire. We'll be the first ones that go to jail for it.
Oh, I wish. Then I'll book it off to Thailand, like the White Lotus there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, if we shift gears here a little bit more locally, so this ongoing issue with the whole Aboriginal land claim here out in BC. Now, here's an update by Steve Soretsky here. Based on his discussions with lenders and appraisers over the past few weeks, he's saying at least 10 lenders won't originate new mortgages on these disputed Richmond lands. Now, people were trying to prod him on social, like, hey, who are these lenders? It's just like when you report a sports thing, a breaking news thing, you have sources, you have insiders, and they want to remain anonymous, because that way they'll continue giving you information as long as it doesn't get public, because they don't want blowback on themselves. Well, we pretty much know that, yeah, most lenders aren't going to touch it if it's a new mortgage. Now, they'll probably like renew. I doubt
most of them,
yeah, they'll renew because of PR, right? They don't want their name to be dragged in the mud if it went public that they refuse a renewal. But I'm pretty sure they won't do any refinancing or equity takeouts on these lands.
and that's and it's again, that's where it's just very interesting. And this is where, I mean, we go into a bigger one here. This is now not specific in BC, but Ontario is on deck for a 2026 land claim case, and it's been in the works since the 90s. Now, again, we do want to preface this again, like one person message like from the Indigenous, like they're only looking for financial compensation from the government. They're not trying to take over private homes here. Like, we do have to remember that, like, these people are like, they're not coming here saying, hey, I own your house now, you got to get out of here. Like, that's not what's trying to happen here. But again, it's just bringing up like, what is going to happen, and is it we don't own our land? Like, is that really what's going to come from this? And this is the weird spot that we're sitting.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this graph here, it looks like this claim is covering a lot of covers Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge area, Brantford, and Caledonia. And so this is the Six Nations of the Grand River First Nation. And I mean, just like same thing too with Kamloops and Sun Peaks. I'm sure when this all settles, it's going to be like how we said, it's going to be like First Nations leasehold, like the UBCs, the SFUs, all that stuff. But during that time until it settles, there's going to be so much in the air, and you're not going to be able to get new financing from it. But how long will it take for us to get there? We're in this cloudy moment right now where nothing will happen and people can't do anything during that. I feel for people. Like I know someone that lives in Kamloops. Like, if he wants to do anything there, like, you can't. Like you can't sell, you can't refinance, can't do anything because it's going to be up for dispute, and things will get pretty tumultuous until that time. But yeah,
Really.
I don't like how the one judge that announced that, like that ruled this, it just sets a precedent for this, you know, new things that will come, because this is almost the beginning. This is not the end. This is the beginning of more and more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, this is I'm gonna let you talk more about this because I know you know more of the developers there, Alex, but not a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, out here in BC, more developers are, you know, facing insolvency proceedings on 3 projects. So this developer, Square 9 projects out in the Lower Mainland here, 3 projects are insolvent. Now this is the one thing here. The Belvedere project in Surrey Central, um, yep, it's going insolvent. And if you remember correctly, this is about 6 months ago or early this year. They had a condo day flash sale. Do you remember that? Where
I
units were
remember it.
25% off and people were lined up around the block.
Yeah.
That flash day sale didn't help. It didn't work.
Didn't
And it still went insolvent. So 30 stories, 275 residential, and 5 commercial strata units. A couple other ones here. Another project here from them. It's called the 1-8 in Burnaby, and it was set to be developed by the Edmonds SkyTrain station. 148 strata units, 18 market rental units, 24 affordable rental units, and 19 CMHC medium rental units. And finally, the third one here is Surrey, a 5-story mixed-use building and a 4-story apartment building that was set for 108 residential units, 4 townhouses, and 7 commercial units. So all in all, there's another story about medium-sized developer facing insolvency and bankruptcy because the whole pre-sale market is going under.
I mean, the hard thing is they probably just tried to eat too much off at one time. Like if they probably would have just focused on, say, like the Belvedere project, only was putting like time and money into there, they probably would have done better. But they were probably like, oh shit, we're gonna like the market's booming. We're gonna do all these things at one same time. We're gonna make billions of dollars, and just backfired on them.
Oh yeah, and a lot of these projects, they broken ground, or they were in planning phase as of 2018, 2019. So this was kind of like near the end of this whole run up before the foreign buyer tax came into the Lower Mainland, and before the COVID craziness. And I'm sure during the time of the COVID craziness, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're sitting on a gold mine because all these projects are going to kill." Well, it did at one point until 2022, until the rates start jacking up, and then the bottom just fell out from underneath, and this is the fallout from it. And we're going to hear more and more of these, more so in Toronto than the Lower Mainland. But yeah, this is the latest that's going on.
Yeah. And then we got one last part. This is just a one to bring up from the US. We kind of talked about it before, but Trump is saying that they are going to allow 50-year amortizations. We've talked about this on the podcast a couple times. And that is, again, we are just pushing. We can't bring home prices down. Let's try and find a way to make it more cheaper on a monthly basis. That's really what's going to go on here. Me and Alex have talked about it. Do I believe it's a good thing? I personally don't. If it's used in the right way, I do think it could be a good thing, but that 70% of the population is not going to use it properly. They're going to take it, and they're just going to pay shit ton more in interest, where if they would have taken a 25-year or even a 30-year, but it's the only way in some cases to make stuff so people can even qualify for it.
Yeah.
Either we got to remove the stress test, or we're going to add 50-year amortizations. Like that's really what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I do like Brendan Augmanson did mention it to us. And I like that idea of, if we do end up getting something like a 40 or 50-year amortization, you don't qualify at the 50 or the 40. You still have to qualify at the 30, but you can have the option of going it out to 40 or 50. I'm like, then it's up to you then. Yeah. That would make more sense to me. You still got to qualify for 30. And if you choose to extend it out to, for cash flow reasons, then that's up to you. But yeah, I mean, there's more and more talk about it. I mean, it's even on social, even talking about it amongst Americans, some like it, some don't. And yeah, we'll see how it goes on it.
Yeah, and that's where I think it could work out good there. And then we got the U.S. job reports, unemployment increasing. So again, the U.S. is going to be talking about, are they going to cut rates? And it's just going to lead more data to what's going to happen for Canada.
Yeah. All right. I think this is about it to wrap up. Alex, what's on deck for you this coming week? Do you have another trip happening this weekend?
No more. We're good for a little bit. It's we're gonna hang tight at home here.
Yeah, like for us, nothing going on, but I'm already planning um, Christmas events happening in December because right now we're in the second half of we're in the mid of November, but nearing the end. But you have to plan ahead for these group outings and stuff like that, and for Christmas. And I just realized I'm like, where has the year gone? Like we're 6 weeks from the end of 2025. The year has gone by
It's crazy.
fast, don't you think?
Oh, it's a blur.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, it seems like we live day to day and and then it goes week by week and then realize, oh shoot, time has gone by fast. It seems to go faster when you're older, but it goes so slowly when you're younger.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that's it for us. Thanks for tuning in. On behalf of Alex Shanks, I'm Alex Pang. Thanks for tuning in to episode 63 of the Canadian Mortgage Show. We will see you next week.
Now, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to follow us. Please give us a 5-star rating. You can even send us an email because we want to know what you guys want to hear about. That's what we're here for. Reach out anytime.